Hello, so it's been a while since I made my last EDC video, but longtime viewers will actually remember that this channel actually started out as an EDC channel. Now I have figured out pretty quickly that my EDC actually really only changes very slowly over the course of many months or many years, and so it doesn't really make sense for me to make an EDC update video every 2 or 3 weeks or so. And so I moved this channel over to my other big passion in life, which is photography. That said, I do get the odd comment here and there asking for more EDC type content in the mix with my photography stuff. And yes, I'm way overdue for an EDC update, and that will follow shortly within the next few months or so. But for now, I wanted to make a video about one of my all-time favorite brands when it comes to EDC stuff, and that is Victorinox. And so with that said, this video is indeed sponsored by, okay, no, I'm just kidding. Would be lovely if they would sponsor me, because I'm spending tons of money on Victorinox stuff, as you are about to see. But no, I don't have any business relationship whatsoever with Victorinox. I've never talked to them, and I've bought all of the stuff that you're going to see in this video with my own hard-earned money. Anyway, long story short, I caught myself the other day thinking about my favorite Victorinox models and sort of ranking them in my head, and I thought, why not make a video about this? Maybe this is interesting to some people out there who subscribed maybe a long time ago when this channel was mostly about EDC stuff. And so these are my 5 favorite Victorinox models in reverse order. So starting with number 5 on the list, which is the Victorinox Cadet. So the Victorinox Cadet is actually number 5 on this list, so you could say it's my least favorite model on this list, but despite that, it is still an absolute classic, and in my opinion a Victorinox that everyone should have. The Cadet is noticeably smaller than its 91mm and 93mm brethren, coming in at just 84mm, which is however still a much more useful size in my opinion for stuff like food cutting and small whittling projects compared to Victorinox's 58mm lineup. On top of being shorter, it's also a bit slimmer, the A-lock scales are thinner and so is the main blade and so on. All of that does of course also make it more lightweight, and so this is, in my opinion, the best Victorinox to carry if you want to have something that is still very useful, but it doesn't show in your pocket and it also doesn't weigh you down in any way. With the Cadet you get a small nail file with a nail cleaner tip, a small to medium sized blade that is probably the sliciest blade from Victorinox, just because of how thin it is, which in turn makes this the best Victorinox for stuff like cutting up fruits, because where this blade just glides through an apple, other thicker blades have a tendency to more sort of split them apart. For tools you get a can opener, which would be virtually irrelevant to me if it wasn't for the small flathead screwdriver on its tip, which also works decently well with most Phillips head screws. And then there is the beloved flathead screwdriver, which also doubles as a prying tool, a bottle opener, even features a little wire stripper. It has a 90-degree stop so you can apply a bit more torque, and it's a great little companion, especially if you deal with tripod screws and stuff like that on a regular basis. Also works great for prying open paint cans and so on. So overall it's a very useful tool that doesn't ever weigh you down. It comes in at a fairly affordable price. It's around 30 euros here in Germany where I live, and I also think that it is an absolute classic. In fact, I like it so much that I bought it in 3 different color variations, and also my wife, who is not a knife person at all, she bought her own one a few years back, which was also this green special edition one from 2017 or so, and she's using that knife to this day. It's perfect. It fits into every pants pocket. It even fits into a small woman's purse, and so yeah, great little companion tool to have. It's not scary for anyone. You can pretty much take this guy out almost wherever, at least if it's legal to carry a knife wherever you are. And so yeah, just a fantastic tool, would recommend. Before we move on though, I wanted to quickly mention that even though the Cadet is an all-time classic, it has taken a bit of a backseat over the past few months since Victorinox has released its new Synergy line. And of course, I had to buy a Synergy immediately, which is this guy. I actually made a whole separate video about this one, so if you are curious, feel free to check it out. But in essence, it's a bigger, more sturdy, modernized, and at least to me, more functional version of the Cadet, while still maintaining a relatively slim profile. It's noticeably bigger at 93mm and also a bit thicker, but it features an almost identical tool set. However, the can opener is now a package opener, which is obviously a lot more useful in day-to-day life, and they kept the small flathead screwdriver around at its tip. So that's a 10 out of 10 upgrade from me. The blade on the Synergy isn't just bigger though, it also features a liner lock, and on top of all of that you even get a pocket clip. All good stuff. More on the Synergy lineup in a minute though. Another honorable mention at this point would be the Bantam A-locks. It's the same size as the Cadet but even slimmer, cutting things down to just a single layer. With that layer you get the same blade as with the Cadet and that combo tool that you may or may not know from more famous models like the Compact. It's kind of a slimmed down version of the flathead screwdriver / bottle opener and designed so that the tip here would also work on a Phillips screw in a pinch. Now while the combo tool is a very clever design, I'll admit that I really just don't like using it all that much. The flathead screwdriver is too small to really be used on stuff like tripod screws, and yeah, using the tip to screw in like a Phillips screw is really awkward. I mean, you can do it in a pinch, but if you have to tighten up more than 1 or 2 or 3 screws, that's like, yeah, I don't know. It's not really for me, and so that's the main reason why I don't like the Victorinox Compact that much, and it's not even on this list. And also the reason why I'm not a big fan of the Bantam either, even though I will admit that it's a pretty sleek and elegant and clever design. So yeah, at the end of the day, I prefer the Cadet. That said though, I would like to see a Cadet with the new package opener that you now get on the Synergy lineup, and also why not make a Cadet X, so a Cadet with scissors, while you're at it. Just a hint though, if anyone from Victorinox is watching. Anyway, for now, let's move on to a model that seemingly doesn't get a whole lot of love from the community, the Victorinox Companion Slim A-locks. It's a 93mm A-locks model that sports a pair of Victorinox's fantastic scissors, the flathead screwdriver and the new package opener. Most importantly, however, is that it doesn't feature a blade, making it legal to carry in many places where knives are simply not allowed. And so this is actually quite a big deal for me, because in my day job I am a lawyer, and so yeah, I'm not going to bring a knife to court. That's just not what I'm going to do. And also there are many public places here in Germany where it's just simply not legal to bring a knife. Even simple places like maybe a train station or whatever. And so yeah, it's nice to have a Victorinox that still leaves me with a pocket opener, with a pair of scissors, which always comes in handy, and with a small tool, flathead screwdriver and bottle opener and stuff. It's a pretty great idea in my opinion actually, and so it easily made this list. And also if you're into EDC knives, maybe you have like a dedicated high-end knife with like really great steel and all of that, and so you want to carry that knife, but perhaps you also want to have some of that functionality that Victorinox Swiss Army knives offer, but you don't want to have another full-on Victorinox with yet another blade because you don't want to have the redundancy. So why not carry your beloved dedicated knife and this guy on top? Actually, again, I think this is a great addition to Victorinox's lineup, and I would actually like to see some more Victorinox models that don't feature a blade. That said though, if it is legal to carry a blade wherever I am, me personally, I will actually always opt for a tool that has a blade on it. That's just personal preference though. A blade comes in super handy, and it's just sort of the most basic tool that can almost everything. With that being said, moving on to the Cybertool Large, which in my opinion features by far the most complete tool set that Victorinox offers. I carried this big chunky guy for over a year in my pants pockets as my EDC and made a full video about it, so I won't go through every tool on here again in this video. But yeah, it's fantastic if you want to have everything in one relatively small package. The standout feature here is obviously the 4mm bit driver with the bit set. You get 4 double-sided bits, 1 in the driver, 3 in the holder, making it a total of 8 usable bits. The bit selection is good, but I wish they would offer something like a bit kit to allow for further customization, but hey, this feature alone makes this tool worth having. Since it also features the plus scales, you do get not only the regular tweezers and toothpick, which is a ferro rod in my case, but also a small and borderline unusable pen and a tiny pin, which both come in handy every now and then. If it wasn't for the #1 tool on this list, I would probably still carry this in my pockets on many days, or at least have it in my EDC backpack. It's an entire tool chest that fits into the palm of your hands. Highly recommended. But I cannot talk about the Cyber Tool Large without also mentioning its older brother, the Swiss Champ. It's a classic in Victorinox's lineup and the OG all-in-one big boy multi-tool. This one has the wood scales, which I love, but you can get it with regular Celidor scales as well. Other than that, the Swiss Champ is actually mostly identical to the Cyber Tool Large, but it's lacking the 4mm bit driver and bit set, and instead it features this fish scaler, magnifying glass and the outstanding 3D Phillips head. Now, I love the Phillips head, but the other two are really not all that useful to me for most of the time, and so in terms of functionality I prefer the Cyber Tool Large. That said, with these wood scales, this Swiss Champ just looks and feels much better and like a true classic. And again, that 3D Phillips head is also just fantastic. If I could only keep one of these, I'd have a really hard time choosing. It's a head versus heart kind of debate, and I'm not having that today. So moving on to the Synergy X, which is basically the Synergy that I already showed you, but with an added layer featuring Victorinox's amazing scissors. It is therefore a bit thicker than the regular Synergy, but those scissors are well worth having and they come in handy so often that I would say that it's worth paying the extra money and also worth the extra size and weight. If you want to get just one tool out of the Synergy lineup, get this one, it's fantastic. But now it's time to talk about my favorite Victorinox model, which is very different to all of the other models that I've talked about up until now, because it's actually the Victorinox Spirit X. The Spirit X is obviously not your classic Swiss Army knife layout, but a pliers-based multi-tool, meaning that it can fold open to reveal a big and sturdy pair of pliers with strong wire cutters. And believe it or not, this Spirit X has actually been my EDC tool for over 1.5 years at this point, almost 2 years, which is weird because at first I didn't really like this multi-tool at all. In fact, I sort of thought that it looked weird with the polished scales and the, I don't know, the weird shape of the handles. And so I actually wasn't really interested in testing it or buying it at all. I was more sort of a Leatherman type of guy. But then again, I never thought about carrying a Leatherman as an everyday carry tool. But yeah, was recommended trying out this guy by so many of you out there that I eventually caved, gave it a chance, and completely fell in love with it. It's a fantastic tool and it certainly deserves its own dedicated video, but we don't have time for that today. I hope that I will be able to come around to making that at some point over the next few weeks and months, but for now I won't bore you to death by going through every tool on here, but I think the tool selection overall is fantastic. All tools are accessible without having to open up the pliers. The knife might look a bit weird, but this blade shape actually works really well for just about everything from cutting up fruits and veggies to woodworking and so on. The small 3D Phillips head screwdriver is a work of art and it works on both small and large Phillips head screws. You also get a saw and a metal/wood file, a pry tool with a flathead screwdriver and bottle opener, this chisel that not only works great for scraping things off of surfaces, but also comes with this angle, making it a killer package opener, which will ensure that the main blade stays free from tape residue, so it stays sharp and clean for other tasks like food prep. You can also separately buy a pocket clip that screws onto the scales and is very sturdy, and perhaps most importantly, despite all of its functionality and the big set of pliers, it's actually slightly thinner in your pockets than the Synergy X and just about as thick as a Victorinox Compact. The only thing that I don't like about the Spirit X are the scissors. While Victorinox has a reputation for its great scissors, these are just not that. They are small and they only open up this wide, and I have managed to pinch my hands with them a number of times. They are still useful, don't get me wrong, and it's certainly better to have these than not having any scissors at all, but especially for a company that is this well known for making great small scissors, these are just a bit of a letdown. Lastly, in regards to the Spirit X, I would also like to see Victorinox make a version of this with a slip joint blade, just because it is actually not legal to carry this guy in many countries around Europe, and it's also, as far as I'm aware, not legal to carry this in the UK either. And since I like to carry my multi-tool on me every day, and I also would like for, people in the UK to get to enjoy this multi-tool, yeah, I would really like to see Victorinox come up with a version of this that doesn't feature a locking blade. But anyway, those were my 5 favorite Victorinox models, and with those out of the way, let's talk about a couple of honorable mentions. Starting with the Swiss Card Nail Care, which is a credit card sized multi-tool from Victorinox that also doesn't sport a knife, making it legal to carry in many places. And there are also a number of other great tools in here that come in handy in day-to-day life. It's slim enough that it could actually fit into your wallet. Good stuff overall, in my opinion. Just don't sit on it though, or the glass file, which is excellent by the way, will break, which is why I have 2 of these and not one has a nail file. Next up is the Classic SD. It is the tool that got me started with Victorinox as a kid. It's a fantastic little companion still, doesn't take up space in the pockets and works well in an office environment. Comes in many variations with all kinds of tool sets and materials, but this is the classic. Everyone should have one, and I can't wait to get my little boy his first one of these eventually. The Huntsman wood is probably all you need on a regular backpacking or camping trip. It's not a fixed blade, full tank bushcrafting knife, but don't be fooled by its size, it's highly capable. It sports a big and a small blade for cutting and precise whittling tasks, Victorinox's great saw and scissors, as well as a number of other useful tools. And with these wood scales, it just looks the part and it also feels fantastic in the hand. Last one on here is the Swiss 7. I made a whole video about this one as well, and I actually called it the perfect everyday carry knife. I no longer think that's actually true, since the tool selection is a bit too outdoor heavy and not necessarily the best for everyday carry, but still it's a great, sturdy and relatively small tool to have in your pockets when you are out on a hike or camping. And those were my favorite Victorinox knives. Now next week we are probably back to camera or photography related topics, but thank you to all of my EDC folks for sticking around. I hope this was interesting to you. Let me know in the comments which Victorinox you like the most, and if there's one out there that you haven't seen on this list and that you think I should check out. Either way, I see you in another one. Until then, take good care. Bye.